Not sure if you guys saw this, but when I saw it, I was like, I guess I got to talk about it. I guess on Monday, I got to talk about it. This is crazy. Did you guys see this lady say this?
I would like to say humbly, I'm sorry for taking part in the toxic politics. It's very bad for our country. And it's been something I've thought about a lot, especially since Charlie Kirk was assassinated, is that I'm only responsible for myself and my own words and actions. And I am committed, and I've been working on this a lot lately, to put down the knives in politics. I really just want to see people be kind to one another, and we need to figure out a new path forward that is focused on the American people, because as Americans, no matter what side of the aisle we're on, we have far more in common than we have differences. Yeah. And we need to be able to respect each other with our disagreements.
Wait, what? Marjorie Taylor Greene wants to apologize from the bottom of her heart, utmost sincere apologies for the way that she participated in toxic politics over the years. She wants to change her ways. She wants to apologize for taking part in toxic politics over the years, because the most toxic politician of all time has now his eyes set on her.
Donald Trump earlier attacked Marjorie Taylor Greene, and tonight the Republican congresswoman is responding directly to the president after he said he's pulling his endorsement over her recent criticisms of his administration.
So it's that's happening, where this brewing is going on, and it's been building for a while, but we've seen it coming. I was just wondering if it would ever really happen. Donald Trump even wondered himself maybe a week or so ago what it is that's happened to Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is a big ally of yours, said that she would rather see you focused on nonstop domestic policy meetings here at the White House instead of nonstop foreign policy meetings. What's your response to her saying that, and also saying that grocery prices are up and not down, as you've said?
Yeah, so I don't know what happened to Marjorie. She's a nice woman, but I don't know what happened. She's lost her way, I think. But I have to view the presidency as a worldwide situation, not locally. I mean, we could have a world that's on fire where wars come to our shores very easily if you had a bad president. We had a horrible president, and we ended up with Russia, Ukraine, and we ended up with other disasters, too. Don't forget, I put out 8 wars, 9 to come. I think I'll get the other one taken care of, but I put out 8 wars.
So he was trying to build up and trying to figure out what is that's happened to Marjorie Taylor Greene. I feel like he's been seeing some of the things that she's been saying lately, even though this was on Sunday. This may have been probably the biggest issue that he's got with her.
I'll ask you about something you posted just yesterday on X. You questioned who and what country is putting so much pressure on Trump to keep the Epstein files hidden. And you included a picture about donations from pro-Israel lobbying group AIPAC. What are you trying to say there?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's the question that many Americans are asking, especially when we saw information recently come out in these emails that the Oversight Committee that I serve on has released. And we saw Jeffrey Epstein with ties to Ehud Barak. We saw him making business deals with them, also business deals that involved the Israeli government, and seems to have led into their intel agencies. And I think the right question is to ask is, was Jeffrey Epstein working for Israel? And I'm proud to say I don't take money from AIPAC. I don't take money from any special group of people. I'm just representing my district and the American people. And so that's what I was referring to.
Well, damn. Marjorie Taylor Greene is even talking about potential ties of Jeffrey Epstein with some kind of covert operation or working with intel agencies related to Israel. We've known there's a bunch of international ties and international figures and big name folks from all over the world that were tied with Jeffrey Epstein and his child sex trafficking ring. We already know this. We just don't know exactly who or to what degrees. And what we could figure from realizing that, though, is that this is one of the main reasons so many folks and so many multiple administrations and so many politicians want to keep lids on this. And I've also realized that Donald Trump hadn't been coming after her either. And I was like, what is it that he's not doing? Because he always comes with someone who disagrees with him even 1% of the time. Then he answered, he answered my question. The honeymoon's over. Here's what Donald Trump said about Marjorie Taylor Greene over the weekend. I'm withdrawing my support and endorsement of, quote, Congresswoman. Not sure why he put her in quotes. She is a congresswoman. Marjorie Taylor Greene of the great state of Georgia. Over the past few weeks, despite my creating record achievements for our country, including a total and complete victory on the shutdown, closed borders, low taxes, no men in women's sports, or transgender for everyone, ending DEI, stopping Biden's record-setting inflation, biggest regulation cuts in history, stopping 8 wars, rebuilding our military, being respected by every country in the world, as opposed to being the laughingstock that we were just 12 months ago, having trillions of dollars record-setting invested in the USA, and having created the hottest country anywhere in the world from being a dead country just 12 months ago, and so much more. Oh my God. All I see is wacky Marjorie do is complain, complain, complain. It seemed to all begin when I sent her a poll stating that she should not run for senator or governor. She was at 12% and didn't have a chance, unless, of course, she had my endorsement, which she wasn't about to get. Pause for a second. Why wasn't she about to get that endorsement? She kisses your ass and does everything else that you want. That is up until now. Let's get back to it. She has told many people that she's upset that I don't return her phone calls anymore, but with 219 congressmen and women, 53 U.S. senators, 24 cabinet members in almost 200 countries, and an otherwise normal life to lead, I can't take a ranting lunatic's call every day. I understand that wonderful conservative people are thinking about primarying Marjorie in her district of Georgia, that they are too fed up with her and her antics. And if the right person runs, they will have my complete and undying support. She has gone far left, even doing The View with her low IQ Republican hating anchors. So that's how he finally decided to fire back at Marjorie Taylor Greene for all of her disrespect and leaving the party. Can't believe she would do this. I can't believe that she would actually cross me. The bottom line is he's pulling his endorsement. He doesn't like her. And he did confirm what it is that AOC was talking about. One of the reasons that Marjorie Taylor Greene is doing this is because the Republican Party leadership put an axe on her ambitions to run for Senate, or I guess governor. Here's what she said in response. President Trump just attacked me and lied about me. I haven't called him at all, but I did send these text messages today. Ooh. Apparently, this is what sent him over the edge. The Epstein files. And of course, he's coming after me hard to make an example to scare all the other Republicans before next week's vote to release those Epstein files. It's astonishing, really, how hard he's fighting to stop the Epstein files from coming out and that he actually goes to this level. But really, most Americans wish he would fight this hard to help the forgotten men and women of America who are fed up with foreign wars and foreign causes, are going broke trying to feed their families, and are losing hope in ever achieving the American dream. That's what I voted for. I've supported Trump with too much of my precious time, too much of my own money, and fought harder for him, even when almost all of the Republicans turned their backs and denounced him. But I don't worship or serve Donald Trump. You guys want to see two of those text messages that she said she sent to Donald Trump that he said she's been harassing him and calling him with? She's dropping all of it. She's even dropping receipts, bro. Here's one of these text messages that she sent, and she pointed out it's to DJT, posted at the top. Check the flight. This is what she said to Trump. Check the flight logs of Epstein's plane. Bill Clinton is on there like 26 times. Hillary too. For many of us, releasing the Epstein files has always been for the women who were victims of Jeffrey Epstein, but also because we believed that Democrat bad guys like the Clintons were entangled and involved with him. Epstein was the spider that wove the web of the deep state. Lean into it. Looks like she's trying to give him a little bit of advice. Hey, Donnie, here's a way that you can, address the Epstein situation and still come out trying to look clean, even though it's kind of impossible to do that considering you're all over the place. But if I bring up Clinton, maybe Donald Trump will actually listen. Here's another text message, but she sent it to one of his staffers here, though, I believe, because someone else, that staffer, Natalie, pointed out the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. And she responded. Marge said, in every single interview I've done, I have defended President Trump. I've said over and over, the women say he did nothing wrong, and their attorney says he's the only one who helped. And the Democrats had 4 years to release the files, but did nothing. Stop ignoring the women. Many of them literally voted for President Trump to say so publicly. And being raped as teenagers is not a hoax. This is the part that I'm talking about. And Marjorie Taylor Greene basically just said it for me in that message that she shared that she had with a staffer, Natalie. Marjorie Taylor Greene, in all of her efforts, as she's come forward and done the right thing on Epstein, as she's come forward and talked the right thing about what it is that happened during the shutdown, as she's come forward and talked correctly about healthcare issues and how Mike Johnson has no plans, no thoughts of plans. People's costs are going up; they're being skyrocketed. People are concerned about the economy. They're not happy being gaslit by this administration. She said so many of the right things, but the one thing that she was telling these folks that she wants to be defended on is that she's never come for Donald Trump. And you know what? She's right.
Do you think President Trump has something to hide here?
I don't, because I believe the women, and the women have said over and over again that Donald Trump did nothing wrong. Even Virginia Giuffre said it under oath, and she wrote it in her book. And so if we listen to the women, they say Donald Trump has done nothing wrong.
Only problem is Marjorie Taylor Greene is not listening to the women who said Donald Trump has done a lot wrong. That's just the only problem. So the ambition, or whatever it was, the plan and the strategy to come forward and say all these right things, which I appreciate when anybody says the right things, because maybe there's people that only listen to Marjorie Taylor Greene, and once she says the right thing, they'll start understanding how severe these things are. So kudos to Marjorie Taylor Greene. And she's finally had her riff with Donald Trump, because Donald Trump finally had it with her getting way too close and talking about all of these connections that he possibly has with all of these other folks and the nefarious things that he's been doing and why he's covering up those Epstein files, except she still won't come for him on that. I mean, she can have her beliefs, so it's not up to me to tell her everything to believe. It's just pretty odd that everyone can see it except for her. Donald Trump wasn't even done with her. He got to truthing a whole bunch. Lightweight Congressman Marjorie Taylor Brown. Green grass turns brown when it begins to rot, he says. Betrayed the entire Republican Party when she turned left, performed poorly on the pathetic View, and became the rhino that we all knew she always was. Just another fake politician, no different than Rand Paul Jr., Thomas Massey, who got caught being a full-fledged Republican in name only, which means rhino. Make America great again. I wonder at one point, is he ever going to advance his language or the way that he writes or the way that he posts things like this? You have to have these asides. You know, I can't call her Marjorie Taylor Greene anymore because, green grass turns brown and, mouse, she's brown. I have to tell you what rhino means now, too, even though we overuse the shit out of that term. Rhino. You know what rhino means? You know what rhino means? I'm so tired of these children that are leading the country with these stupid schoolyard bullying fights. And finally, this is the one that brought Marjorie Taylor Greene out to be mad at Donald Trump. And he also followed that up again an hour later and said, Marjorie Traitor Greene is a disgrace to our great Republican Party. He's on a fucking warpath. The rhetoric is heating up. Keep your mind on the rhetoric. And the way that they talked about rhetoric when it came between Democrats and Republicans and radicals and violence, Marge responded with this. I'm now being contacted by private security firms with warnings for my safety as a hotbed of threats against me are being fueled and egged on by the most powerful man in the world. The man I supported and helped get elected. Aggressive rhetoric attacking me has historically led to death threats and multiple convictions of men who were radicalized by the same type of rhetoric being directed to me right now, this time by the President of the United States. As a woman, I take threats from men seriously. I now have a small understanding of the fear and pressure the women who are victims of Jeffrey Epstein and his cabal must feel. As a Republican who overwhelmingly votes for President Trump's bills and agenda, his aggression against me, which also fuels the venomous nature of his radical internet trolls, many of them who are paid, wow, this is completely shocking to everyone. My phone is blowing up with constant amazing support, and I'm so thankful. The political industrial complex and the toxic, violent nature of American politics must end. Is she willing now to pull back all this talk or stop supporting this party that keeps talking about how the Democrats are so radical and they send all of these death threats to every conservative's way? When she said 2 times in that post that the most powerful man in the world is coming and attacking her, that also the president of the United States, Donald Trump, is sending folks, and she's just looking for private security because now she's taking these death threats seriously. The same kind of death threats that radicalizes people and directed towards her before. How was it before the kinds of radicalized death threats that came your way were coming from all those lefties, but suddenly it's the same way coming from this guy? It can't be both at the same time. I understand it's a very calculated, strategic political approach that Marjorie Taylor Greene is pursuing here, and it's working for her. Trust, it's working for her. And I welcome every time that she comes forward and says something truthful that's disrupting this madman dictator in the White House so he can start pulling the last few strands of hair out that he's got and being pissy with her. I'm open to all that. The problem that Marjorie Taylor Greene still has with me, the problem that Marjorie Taylor Greene still has is that she thinks being non-toxic in the political atmosphere and going on The View and then ignoring questions about some of those people that she doesn't feel are worthy enough to be represented in this country, that are worthy enough to still have their lives taken seriously, that are worthy enough to not be attacked by our law enforcement and National Guard and active duty troops being sent into the cities. The people that she doesn't give a shit about, minorities, LGBTQ plus folks, anybody else that she dislikes still because she's still a conservative that hates and dislikes a lot of people. She just thinks the only thing that's not toxic is going after, which is she's rightfully doing, the people on this Epstein files list. That is, except for Donald Trump. So let me wrap up and show you guys the last reason why I welcome and I accept Marjorie Taylor Greene's apology for being toxic. The only problem, the last little problem I've got with her apologizing for it, is that she doesn't think certain folks are included in what she claims is toxic.
You're talking about lowering the rhetoric, which is important for everybody to hear from you and all of our elected officials. But there is some concern, a lot of concern among Republicans about the rise of anti-Semitic hard-right figures in your movement, especially after Tucker Carlson hosted white nationalist Nick Fuentes on his podcast, didn't question Fuentes about his vile language or views.
Well, first of all, I defend every single person's free speech rights. I think that's incredibly important. So I don't apologize for that. And I don't believe in canceling people. And I think it's important for people like Tucker Carlson and yourself to interview everyone. I don't believe in trying to cancel someone by refusing to interview them and question them.
Count me as guilty as a proponent of free speech. There's free speech and then there is hate speech. And this is a man invited on a really prominent conservative show who said, even during that interview, he had a problem with, quote, organized Jewry, and he wasn't challenged on it. In the past, he has denied the Holocaust, called Adolf Hitler effing cool, talked about the fact that he thought Jim Crow was just fine, and on and on. So again, there's free speech, and then there's just hateful language and sentiments.
Well, Dana, again, I told you on this interview that I'm committed to ending the toxic politics, and I think I don't want to have anything to do with it. You should have Nick Fuentes on your show, and you could ask him questions about that.
Nick Fuentes should still be on shows. Nick Fuentes' points of view. Everyone should have their First Amendment rights to say the things that they want to say. Yes, they should. And then after that, we should realize what those First Amendment rights then sometimes lead to, which Donald Trump has his First Amendment rights, and his First Amendment rights have him pitching the kind of rhetoric that's led to more death threats towards Marjorie Taylor Greene. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is incensed about that. But what she still doesn't care about is how Nick Fuentes' language leads to death threats, leads to a change in the way that our society sees certain people. And that her language that she doesn't see as toxic anymore, when she ignored Whoopi Goldberg, who they say is her best friend now, on The View asking about invasion of American cities and targeting Black and brown folks, she didn't have a word to say about it because she still doesn't care. So I'm enjoying the evolution of Marjorie Taylor Greene. I welcome her evolution. Maybe one day she'll get to the point where she still thinks people that she sees are lesser than her are valuable enough to be living in this world, because she ain't got there yet. But I'm glad that the whatever she saw from the Epstein survivors and the stories that they told has called her cold, black, dead heart to beat a couple times a minute.